really, I just want to kind of paint the landscape a little bit, and why, Sentinel should be something that you're considering now, why security is becoming such a big issue now. And as you know, I mean, IT security is really complex, right? I mean, there's loads of different bits and bits and bobs that you can put together, and different points. And I think in the past, we've had this kind of walled garden view of kind of, we build everything around our environment. We don't really care what happens in there, so long as it's behind that walled garden, we're protected. And the attacking kind of, from outside came against that walled garden, the wall around that garden. So we didn't really worry too much about what was going on within, things like applications and things. But especially because of COVID, we're starting to see loads and loads of people now move outside of that walled garden. You got, bring your own device. They're working from home, mobile applications, all that kind of stuff are sitting outside of the network. And what that's really done is that's highlighted, and the attackers are now shifting that view, that focus to that outside resource. And they're doing that because, let's be honest, users aren't the most security conscious. And they're not the most security trained, so they don't really understand a lot. They think, oh, I've got this, and now I'm safe, or I've got a big password that seems random. I'm safe, and that's all, as we know, not always the case. So there, when that happens, it's very easy for security teams to get overwhelmed, because they'll start to attack all of those users, and then it'll just kind of flush into the entire network. And so, products like Sentinel, that help monitor that, become much more important. Microsoft are really doubling down on this, as most of the industry, including ourselves, around the zero trust idea. The open group are the ones that came up with the original principles. Microsoft, everybody's using that as the kind of the foundation, and Microsoft's zero trust principles really kind of move around these three core bits. So the idea that, you need to verify explicitly. So a lot of stuff is happening around AD, but it's a lot of monitoring around the users, making sure the user is the right person, MFA, all of that kind of stuff around the user. The idea of least privilege is not about hindering people. It's about, in the past, rather than just, we would just give access to somebody, and then when they left, we would get around to turning that access off. Now it's right. What does that user actually need? When do they actually need it? And when are they done using it? And I'll turn that off. Or have they left the business and I turn off that access? And so it's just about making sure that you give the user the exact privileges they need. And if they need more, that's absolutely fine. You can up that, but you're not just giving them a blanket privilege. And this idea of assume breach, again, it's about this idea of segmenting your environment, and hardening different bits and locking bits down and making sure that you're covered. So, and that really kind of applies to the metrics that you're starting to look to apply to security in general, which is that mean time to detection. So how long does it take before you detect somebody's been in there? And this is where Sentinel will really help out. That recovery time. So once they're there, how long does it take to get them out? And what's interesting is Microsoft do the red team, blue team in Azure, right? And so the red team, they attack Azure, and they get paid for how deep they can penetrate in. The blue team, they get paid to defend Azure and how quick they can then block those attacks and push those attacks out. And it's quite interesting. They've got whole rooms and floors in Redmond, I hear, that are kind of dedicated to that. So, it's a little bit of war games going on, but that helps Microsoft stay in front of a lot of the hackers that are out there, and a lot of it gives them a great advantage that they wouldn't normally have, or organizations wouldn't normally have against attackers, because they've got people dedicated to that. The idea of defense in depth. So if you think of a house and you think about the front door, the back door, the ways in, and once an attacker's in, or burglar's in, they're in. They've got full access to your house. And if you think about, well, if I had a door on every room that locked, if I run my network in the same way, that attacker's then going to be able, it may not keep them out, and it may not keep them from breaching in, but what it may do is, and what it will do, is slow down the amount of time, the time that it takes for them to get down. It will take longer. You'll have longer to find that attack and stop it before it becomes into vital systems. And so by locking down different parts of your environment and keeping everything, kind of tied in and locked together, it just makes things a lot more secure. And then it's really important afterwards, that post breach, to sit down and go, right, what happened, what went right, what went wrong, how can we fix this for the future, how can we change this, what do we need to put in place. Those bits are really important as well. So I just want to cover a few products, and then I'm going to hand over to John. But these are security products from Azure, or from Microsoft, around, you know, the Azure and the modern workplace, that you should keep in mind as you're building out things. And so you're looking at things like blueprints, policies, Microsoft Defender. These are great products by Microsoft that focus on security and really focus on this idea of layers that you can add in of different bits and pieces, and each have their own you know, really good benefits. I recommend these to all my customers when we're talking about security. And then the final product would be around this idea of Sentinel, wrapping everything together and monitoring.